Дорогие друзья, мы продолжаем нашу работу. Меня зовут Екатерина Энтина, я профессор Высшей школы экономики и руковожу в ней исследованиями Средиземноморья, того самого пространства, которое столетиями провоцировало не только конфликты и противоречия, но и в буквальном смысле было связующим звеном.
We are discussing this topic, and we say that yes, we are now in the area which has been in the center between ancient civilizations. And for centuries, we saw the development of the Silk Route and the route from the Greeks to the Veronians and other transport routes. They were related to trade. Merchants were transporting their cargo. And at the beginning of the 18th century, in the Russian Empire, there was a person who did a lot for development of this. He was a Serb, Dobozinski, and he reached an agreement between Russia and China, and also he ensured transportation to Venice and the Venetian Republic. And now one of the people like that is Antonio Valico. So his efforts in uniting Asia and Europe cannot be underestimated. With the growth of digitalization, supply chains are now covering the whole world, and this is something obvious. During the pandemic and sanctions and restrictions and also threats to security, they disrupted this sector. And like in the past, transportation routes became a most valuable resource, like in the past. And the sheer size of Russia ensures the possibility to build the new routes, and it is from north to south and along the Arctic coast, and various corridors and the Northern Sea route are becoming in greater demand. And this is well demonstrated by Turkey as well, because it is now an aviation hub, and it combines marine and land routes. But transport corridors is not only about transport. No, it involves energy, development of infrastructure, automobile roads, data centers, and digital equipment. So these corridors and areas around it, these are advanced development areas, and they are key to international cooperation. And here we have a panel of experts who understand most of the aspects in this sphere, and they know how we can maximize the results of this area development. My question is for you, Dmitry Stanislavovich. Russia has advanced enormously in terms of logistics and transportation in the past years. Could you please tell us what we can expect for regular passengers? We all are passengers. And what about participants of the transportation market? Thank you for this question. First, I would like to personally thank Antonio for the possibility to take part in this session and to demonstrate what the Russian transport system has, to demonstrate it to the colleagues. And we have been always open, and we ensure the most reliable and fast connection between Asia and Europe. I'm speaking about cargo and passenger transportation, and we are ready to continue working within the win-win paradigm, and we are open to attracting new investments in development of infrastructure. You were absolutely right when you said that transport is not just infrastructure, it is the whole sector, and different types of development. Yeah, and when we think about infrastructure, technology, digitalization, human capital development, yeah, all this makes it possible to demonstrate what transport systems are and what is the future that we see and what are the tasks we set up for ourselves. Right now, 5 million people work in the transport complex of Russia, 7% of the employable population, and it is 5% of the internal GDP. And we occupy the third place for rail, the second for inland routes, and we are among top 3 in terms of pilotless vehicles. And in 2024, we transported over 15 billion people, and over 8 billion tons of cargo were transported. This is over 1,000 Cheops pyramid weight. And we manage to do all this because we have lots of friendly countries and neighbors working with us, and we ensure the use of multimodal transportation and a balanced approach to development. And we develop infrastructure and technology at all stages of transportation. Difficulties with delays at cross-border points, and 5 years ago this was something common and it was widely discussed a lot, but now we have a new modernized dozens of modernized checkpoints. The President of the Russian Federation gave a task to us. The time for one truck should be limited to 10 minutes, and by 2028 this task will have been reached. And now it is possible on at cross borders with Azerbaijan, China, and soon it will be launched with Georgia as well, the Upper Lars cross-border point. And we are increasing transportation, and by 2030 all the targets have been identified. Then the eastern, so-called eastern polygon for rail transportation. Right now it is 180 million tons of cargo per year, and in 2028 it will be 210 million tons, and then 270 million tons by 2032. This is the shortest, the fastest, and the most high-quality route. Another task of ours, there will be 50 bypass railways, and we are going to build about 5,000 local automobile roads. So you see, we have been developing, and this is a balanced development in all sectors. And now Russia, as part of the global transport routes, we see that now we have all these north-south and trans-Arctic corridors. We eliminate transport bottlenecks in all these areas, and greater emphasis is on rail connections to largest ports. The Black Sea, up to 150 million tons, in Murmansk, 45 million tons, Novorossiysk up to 43 million tons. These are all our achievements. It's not something for the future. It is what we see now. Then a trans-Arctic corridor development. This is the shortest way from Asia to Europe via the Northern Sea route. This is a reality again this month. The container ship brought 1,000 containers from China to Britain within 22 days, and this is 1 week faster than by rail and 3 weeks faster than via the Suez Channel. And I'm not speaking about the Good Hope route. And now the another area. In 2020, we launched the high-speed rail line development between Moscow and St. Petersburg. This will be a pilot flagship project, and it is a breakthrough because it is automation, and the first line will be 460 kilometers, and this is just the first phase of this project, and over 110 million people of Russia will have access to high-speed rail transportation, and 9,000 new automobile and railroads have been built, and it saves half of the time. Passenger services, Catherine, you mentioned some of them. For us, it is most important to ensure not only infrastructure, but also convenient services. So we try to eliminate any delays, any time lost. So we plan all the steps of the passenger route, and various platform servicing and purchasing tickets online, modern public transit to these stations will reduce the time required by 1/3. Then the green corridor for passengers, where we are going to use biometric detectors for this, so people won't need a physical ticket or a transport card, and this is a potential for cities development, because in the past people used to walk to work, and now we speak about a new transportation access, and this will ensure urban development as well.
Now, development of freight operations. By developing high-speed main lines, we are generally creating more time thanks to using electronic paperwork and electronic wage bills. Starting from 2023, we were offering them as an alternative option. Starting from 2026, they become mandatory for all means of transport in Russia. Right now, this is 1.5 million transportation document a month, but starting from September the 1st, 2026, we're about to launch state informational system of electronic consignment notes and waybills. We will eliminate millions of paperwork from circulation, and this is a flagship project for development of national transport digital platform that will be joined by global players. Specifically, we cooperate with China and India by already coordinating our work through the gateways. We integrate our databases so that we have unified data standards for all market players and simplify this interaction. To put it simply, data on the freight being transported is inserted into the system just once, and in the right format, they are being shared with all the right state agencies all along the chain, also for taxation purposes. Next one, air transportation. I'd like to say that 111.7 million passengers carried by air in 2024. This percent is 6% higher than 2023. We are about to come to the level of flights before the sanctions imposed in 2022. In March 2022, international connections were offered by 23 foreign countries. Today, we have air connection with 33 countries and 65 foreign-based air carriers flying to and from Russia. And 35 Russian-based air carriers are doing passenger transportation to 42 countries of the world. In this regard, we work very closely with our Turkish partners, and we are convinced that in 2026, the volume of transportation will only increase. Now, a novelty in development of transport are autonomous vehicles, and this is a new focus of our attention in logistics. Just coming ahead of tomorrow, when we are going to focus on AI, and I genuinely would encourage the participants of this session to be present here, because we are going to tell you more what we do in autonomous transportation in terms of unmanned vehicles and AI. This is the future that has happened already. As of today, the new high-speed roads between Moscow and St. Petersburg, Moscow and Kazan are already commissioned, and we have autonomous vehicles moving there. About 70 trucks are unmanned, carrying cargo there, and unmanned trucks carried more than 1 million cubic meters of cargo carried in 1 year. And by 2030, we expect those numbers to go up dramatically, all the way up to 25 million cubic meters of cargoes per annum. The advantages are quite clear, and the average speed is 11% higher than with an actual human driver, fewer costs associated with fuel, no associated costs for the driver to sleep, eat, or have rest. Hence, the time and price of delivery are being reduced dramatically, and we offer a new format of a logistic product. Today, Russia is also at the forefront in introduction of autonomous marine vessels. We work closely with our Turkish colleagues. We have shown them 2 Russian ferries that work autonomously between Moscow and St. Petersburg and Kaliningrad. Those 2 vessels are crew-free. They only have an operator, no crew in them otherwise. This is a reality. We optimize the cruising route, the speed, and work together on insurance mechanisms and resource supply. Just one more slide on my side and I'm done. So, to make the system work well, it is important that we have the right talent pool. And for that, the Ministry of Transport of Russia has 19 universities under its patronage, and about 11,000 alumni and future employees of the transport industry are offered to the market. We chose once again that we care about the future, we look into the future, and we ensure safe transportation and safe connections and good quality services to our partners, not today, but also in the future. So, whenever we look into the future of transportation facilities, by 2030, we are proudly saying that we're moving over to development of a transportation strategy all the way to 2050. I'd like to use this opportunity to invite all the colleagues who are interested to see how Russian transportation evolves. If you would like to find new partners, please join us in St. Petersburg from the 1st to the 3rd of April in 2026. That will be the first International Transport and Logistics Forum. We expect to have guests from 112 countries already confirmed. We would be delighted to see Antonio joining us because he is doing a lot for the transportation and better connectivity. We look forward to seeing you in St. Petersburg. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Zverev. Being a Russian person born in the Urals Mountains, I can only confirm that the Ministry of Transport is carrying a lot. I was so delighted by the fact that the high-speed road was opened connecting Moscow and Yekaterinburg, and it has reduced the travel time for me by twofold. At the same time, railway transportation in countries with such vast territories like Russia remains the key element of infrastructure, and in today's environment, the role of railway transport as a safe and reliable corridor is particularly important. Mr. Mikhailov, please tell us more about Russian Railways' plans to develop infrastructure in the south of the country and further beyond, and what steps are being taken to expand infrastructure abilities there. Thank you very much for your question, Ekaterina. Dear participants of the forum, dear ladies and gentlemen, it's no secret that in the situation of high economic uncertainty and the necessity to quickly adapt to new environment, transport and logistics need to react promptly to the events happening in the world today. Russian railways, just like the US and China, are ranked as top 3 largest railway networks in the world. So the structures changes happening in international trade caused by sanctions, tariff war, and geopolitics are directly affecting the cargo flow going through the territory of railways. However, despite high degree of volatility, in terms of cargo turnover, we are somewhere at the level of 2024, and in terms of export transportation, we've exceeded the level of the previous previous level by 6.6%. Good dynamic is demonstrated by cargo types like coal, mineral ore, black metal, mineral fertilizers, and other types of cargo. International railway transportation accounts for 1.5 trillion tons a year, which is about 1/3 of all cargo transportation in Russia. We trade and compete more with partners from Asia, Africa, and Latin America that accounts for half of the population of the world. We need to further diversify our supply chains to offer Russian products abroad and support import to Russia. In Russia, there are state goals set by the president to increase amounts of cargo transportation by no less than 1.5 times compared to 2021. We also need to increase export volumes of non-commodity materials to reduce dependency from energy carriers by no less than 2/3 versus 2023. We also need to increase export potential of agricultural facility down to the level of 2023. And together with our colleagues from the Ministry of Transport, we are paying every effort to implement this decree. We are talking to make sure that by 2030 we increase the capacity of transportation around the Azov Sea up to 120 million tons, and in the north-south corridor all the way to 20 million tons. In parallel to development of infrastructure, we are closely working on the rollout of new transportation corridors for the north-south corridor, together with the railway companies of the other companies that it will go through. We offer discounts from this tariff, and on the eastern branch we offered multi-modal transportation up to 4 container trains pairs a month. Despite the high degree of volatility, with Turkey we have a growing goods turnover. It is growing stably thanks to good trading relations between Russia and Turkey. The share of export goods in Russia is more than 12% of import to Turkey, and import from Turkey to Russia accounts for 2.5% of Turkish export. Primarily from Russia we carry energy carriers, coal, oil and gas, while Russian consumers buy Turkish textiles and machinery, as well as household appliances. It is confirmed by the growing numbers for railway transportation. From January to September, it has grown by 10% versus same previous last year, and it amounts to 34 million tons. The major growth driver is container transportation as a universal means of world logistics. In 9 months of 2025, it's amounted to 125,000 TEU, which is plus 13% versus the last year. Speaking of Turkey and world logistics, we have to mention its unique geographical location between Europe and Asia. Developed network of hubs and seaports make it very attractive for transportation. The ports of Turkey are well connected with international hubs, and modern systems of processing of containers make delivery reliable and fast. Lately, the Russian railways have faced a necessity to quickly change and amend supply chains, and the Turkish colleagues' experience on ensuring independence of their industry has helped us a lot. We're deeply impressed by the effort paid by the Republic of Turkey to step up the level of technological transformation in railway business and in transportation. We see that our Turkish colleagues are actively implementing new transportation services using world best practices. The more so that lately we achieved high level of localization of necessary machinery and primarily rolling stock in Turkish enterprises. Dmitry already mentioned the development of high-speed railway connections, and our experience was very much relevant in this regard, and we learned a lot from our Turkish colleagues. We are also excited to see how the efforts paid by the government are going to affect the competitiveness of Turkish railways versus road transport, and we're interested to see whether the Turkish government is going to offer additional support to railway to ensure equal and fair competition on the transportation market. Wrapping up, I would like to invite our railway colleagues to come to Russia to learn more about the competences of our company and discuss future plans together. And once again, I would like to thank the organizers and primarily Antonio for excellent organization of this event, and I wish most fruitful work to the participants of the forum. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Mikhailov.
Mr. Zverev and Mr. Mikhailov have spoken that transport routes are more effective in conditions when they are integrated in a system, in a core infrastructure. In this sense, it's not only a Russian experience, but evidently worldwide experience. Air transportation starts at the airport and more or less finishes there. It means that it's a key for everything. Mr. Marano, you are heading one of the most, one of the biggest airports of Italy, but also Venice region is famous for its transportation hub of international and inter-regional level. May you share your experience with us? How did you achieve such a position, and how you are doing in modern conditions?
Well, thank you very much. I think that we should start with a short video that we have prepared for you, just to give you a flavor of our region. And thereafter, I will then comment it. Thanks. Well, I hope that this gave you a bit of a flavor of what I'm going to present now. And first of all, I also have to extend my gratitude to Professor Falikov for having us here for the second time in a row. Last year it was in Ras Al Khaimah. And also, of course, his association, Associazione Conoscere Eurasia. Ladies and gentlemen, what you have just seen is not simply a port or a region. It is a living system of connections. The video you have watched captures the essence of Trieste and Friuli Venezia Giulia, a region where sea, air, rail, and road come together to form one of Europe's most integrated logistic platforms. At the heart of it's the port of Trieste, Italy's first port for total tonnage, first for rail freight and first for short sea shipping. It handles over 59 million tons of cargo each year, runs more than 11,000 trains, and already surpasses the EU 2030 target for rail modal share, with 54% of goods moving by train. This is not an isolated achievement. It is the outcome of a long-term vision to build a networked economy where ports, airports, and inland terminals operate as a single system. Together with the Monfalcone port, the inland terminals of Cervignano, Gorizia, and Ferneti, and Trieste Airport, we have created what we call the extended port, a seamless logistic corridor connecting the Adriatic Sea to Central and Eastern Europe. But the real power of Trieste lies not only in the European reach, it lies in its bridge to Turkey. For decades, Trieste has been European terminal for the Turkish maritime network. Every week, ro-ro and container services operated by DFDS, ECOL, and Arkas link Istanbul, Izmir, and Mersin directly to Trieste. Through our port, Turkish products reach Austria, Germany, Hungary, and Poland within hours, and European goods find fast, efficient access to the dynamic Turkish market. This is one of the strongest and most successful shipping partnerships in the Euro-Mediterranean area. It represents more than logistics. It represents trust, continuity, and a shared vision of cooperation between our two nations. I like to call this corridor the Euro-Mediterranean Silk Road, a modern multimodal route that binds Anatolia and Central Europe, the Mediterranean, and the Baltic in a single flow of commerce and innovation. This network is supported by major investments, over 2 billion in the Trieste and Monfalcone port systems alone. We are modernizing Pier 5 and 6, expanding rail capacity, developing cold ironing facility for green energy at berth, and strengthening the digital backbone of port operation. Trieste is already among the most advanced ports in Europe in digitalization and rail integration, and it operates under Europe's only international free port regime, which allows unmatched flexibility for logistics, manufacturing, and trade. Our goal is to make this not only the most efficient, but also the most sustainable logistics hubs in the region, fully aligned with the EU Green Deal. At Trieste Airport, we are complementing this effort by electrifying operation, investing in sustainable aviation fuels, and developing hydrogen-based mobility projects in partnership with European institutions. What makes Friuli Venezia Giulia unique is that it functions as a single interoperable system connecting the port of Trieste, the airport, the free zones, and the inland rail terminals. It is a place where public and private actors, industry and institutions, Italy and its neighbors, Slovenia, Austria, Croatia, and of course Turkey, work together to create a common space for growth. This cooperation is not theoretical. It moves every day across the Adriatic on every vessel sailing between Trieste and the Turkish coast. Those ships are not only transporting goods, they are carrying partnership opportunities and shared future. In a time when the world is searching for stability, the Trieste-Turkey connection proves a simple truth. Connectivity creates resilience, and resilience creates prosperity. Our ports, our airports, our transport system are not competitors, they are partners in a shared mission to keep the world moving, to make trade cleaner and smarter, and to ensure that cooperation across the Mediterranean remains a source of peace and progress. Thank you very much.
фамилия, мистер Марано. В мире есть несколько узловых пространств.
In the world, there are several hubs that are truly special. Hubs in every meaning of this word in terms of transportation and civilizationally wise. One of them is the Mediterranean region, as mentioned earlier, and the other one is undoubtedly the Far East. For a long while, Russia, mostly on the level of donor words, we were talking about pivoting towards the East, although I would say that largely it was conditioned by the market environment, since the two-headed eagle that is the mascot of Russia was never looking in one way only, it is at least looking in two ways. Therefore, the fact that this pivot is happening today is not that much a reaction to the current geopolitical environment, but in a way is a good tradition and the natural development of history. Vera, you know better than anyone else that the key role in this pivot belongs to the Primorsky region, and cargo transportation via Primorsky region went up dramatically. It required considerable increase of transportation capabilities in this part of the world, and this is something that ensures better connection with neighboring countries. So what happened in this situation? I'm sure it may have caused a number of bottlenecks that you had to eliminate, and you have to eliminate up until today. Please tell us, how do you manage to do that? Thank you very much for your question, Ekaterina. I am very happy to welcome all the participants of the forum. I also would like to express my gratitude to Professor Antonio Falico. I do believe that Professor Falico is a big friend of Primoria region because he visits it every year at the Eastern Economic Forum. It is always our pleasure to meet the professor and discuss any matters on the table. And today, we representing this region here in this very important and respected forum, and I believe this is only proper. This is the time for inter-regional connections, and that has to be cooperation between different regions in different countries. We cooperate very actively with our neighbor, the People's Republic of China, and today I would like to say a few words about the Primoria region. If you are to look at the map of Russia, you would see that we are the most eastern region of Russia. And specifically in this region, we have a border where we share three borders. So we have the Russian soil, and by reaching out a hand, you would see China, and on the other side, you would see South Korea. Our region is also in a very important geographical location, a very favorable one, because we serve as a gateway to the Asia-Pacific region. And this is how all of our logistics is being built. Because specifically in this region, we have important transportation and logistic routes that bring together Asia and Europe. And today we are saying that we learn more about Eurasia. Well, I would say our region is the place where the Russian Federation starts, so discovering Russia starts with this region. 2 hours flight from Vladivostok will take you to 400,000 residents of population. All in all, in Southeastern Asia, we have more than 1.5 billion people, which is 20% of the population of the Earth. An important role in development of the transportation system is played by logistics, and I would like to share a few numbers with you that characterize our region best. Our region has achieved an impressive number of 160 million tons of cargo, and I should say that that is this year alone, which is 30% higher than 5 years ago. The cargo turnover exceeded 2.3 million in 20 TFU equivalent, TU equivalent, and 50% of all the containers in the Russian Federation are being processed in the Primoria region. The Vladivostok port is stably ranked #1 among Russian ports in processing of containers for the last 5 years. And I should say that those numbers showcase the growing cargo flow and demonstrate high-quality development of infrastructure in the region. An important role is being played by international transportation corridors that ensure transportation with minimal expenditures of time and means. And in this context, Primorie region is the key region and the most vital transportation and logistics hub. And this is where we see intertwining of large transportation and railway routes, which shapes a shared transportation space for operating with Asia-Pacific region and further integration in the world economy. The territory of Primorie region is a place of overlapping for international transportation routes of global nature and regional nature. Global nature is the Northeast Corridor and Primorie 1 and Primorie 2 regional corridors. Primorie 1 corridor connects China and our region, and further on the cargo is transported to the seaports, while Primorie 2 is the Chinese province of Zilin, leading all the way to our border crossing, and then the cargo is being transported to final destination. The key element of transportation by land in the east-west transportation is the Trans-Siberian main line and Baikal-Amur main line. In the east, the limited crossover ensures the connection of Trans-Siberian Railway to North Korea, China and Mongolia, and in the west to European countries. As for Trans-Siberian Railway, more than 50% of foreign trade and transit cargo is being carried there, and in this route we have a number of important operations. One of the services we offer is Trans-Siberian Railway in 7 days, and the carrying capacity towards the east is already more than 180 million tons of cargo. The limitations imposed on trade with the Russian Federation and intense situation along the traditional transportation routes for trade around the Red Sea and the Suez Canal led to the fact that export cargo flows were reoriented towards China, India and other Asian countries via the territory of the Russian Federation. And also we saw they were switching from the cargo transportation by land to favor transportation by sea. We also project the growing demand of transportation using the Northern Sea route that is part of the sea, part of the international transportation route between the east and the west. It would lead to growing cargo turnover in the Arctic zone and the seaports there. The Northern Sea route offers a shorter route between the west and east of Russia, and in the future will serve as a more favorable trading route between Europe and Asia. As for the government of the Russian Federation, they approved the plan for development of the Northern Sea route until 2035. And the key result of this plan is to commission specialized icebreaker fleet and the supporting on-land infrastructure, including 14 ports and terminals. It is also assumed that the Northern Sea route would become a permanent all-year-round transportation route in the Arctic, and transit transportation would ensure container transit up to 10 million tons, which is about 840,000 containers. This project is being implemented by Rosatom Corporation together with its international partners from the United Arab Emirates, the global leader in management of the supply chains and seaport management. This project also foresees construction of 2 main transportation hubs and logistic hubs, and one of them is exactly the Primorie region.
It is implemented by FESCO company, and the other hub, it is in the Murmansk region by MHL. And there will be icebreakers used for those routes. And Vladivostok will be the starting, and it is the starting point of the Northern Sea route. The results of the successful work of the Russian Federation is a development by the Rosatom Corporation and the Chinese company New Shipping Line. A joint venture was established, and it is a 5-ship fleet, and it is Arc 7. It is 4,400 containers per ship. So we see here great potential, and this is where we will continue all our efforts. Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, can I ask one question? When we speak about transport and logistics and large-scale transportation routes, we sometimes forget that the effectiveness of their work can be ensured on the one hand by international cooperation and on the other hand by specific people. It is specialists in logistics and lawyers and others. What is their role in large-scale logistics projects? Dmitry Stanislavovich, can you please respond to this? Yes, thank you very much for an interesting question. Yeah, I have identified already in my presentation, yes, in the future, yeah, these will be large-scale systems, and we need to ensure their reliable work. In 2022, at some point, traditional supply chains were disrupted suddenly, and then we had to offer something in just a couple of days. We needed to ensure well-functioning mechanisms, and we wanted to identify who wants to continue and working in a win-win situation. And I speak about our partners and countries, and we managed to succeed. And at that time, in the Ministry of Transportation, some ad hoc committee was established, and it continued working for some time. It included only practitioners, people from the expediting companies, and there were importers and customs and agricultural, veterinary, oversight agencies, sanitary control agency. And we were developing the new norms and guidelines for transportation. And, 6 months later, we could see that the whole regulatory base was transformed and lots of procedures were simplified. So in 2022, we signed agreements on transit with 4 countries. Then there were more and more of them. And these countries, at the level of the governments, took up responsibilities to provide transportation on their territory and to enable cargo to be transported. And all in all, this was supporting this sphere. And it was important for the economic sectors of our country. So this is how we did it. And now the Primoria region. So this is very important for Russia. It is the cutting edge of transportation routes development. What about elimination of bottlenecks? So what you can mention about different initiatives of international cooperation and national projects. Well, I said that we are part of a larger transportation system, and all this cargo should be transported somewhere. And we, in the region, cannot work alone. And great attention is given to this sector. And in the town of Artyom, there will be the first so-called dry port in about 80 kilometers from Vladivostok, and about 1 million containers can be processed and transshipped there. And this will be an important impulse to develop multimodality. And another project is a universal port in Zarubino, and in the bay near Vladivostok there will be another hub for transshipment of containers, and it will be an important element of the transportation system there. In addition to that, the Sukhodol coal hub, it is at a distance of 45 kilometers from Vladivostok, and it will process 20 million tons. So 20 million tons of cargo will be transshipped there. Then terminals for LNG and other materials of course, in accordance with all the environmental requirements. Then in Sukhodol, we have been working together with a Chinese company, and this will be grain transshipment port for 3 million tons. And these investors, they invest in the region, and we have been supporting them. The ports in Primoria have been joining the world routes, and one of the key operators is FESCO Group. They work a lot on routes to China, Vietnam, and other Asia-Pacific countries. In addition to that, we can speak about development of the shipbuilding cluster. It was initiated by the President of Russian Federation, and various enterprises and plants, they make icebreakers and large container vessels. And the flagship is the shipbuilding complex named STAR. Using this opportunity, I would like to invite investors to our region. Of course, we can speak about geopolitical conditions. Yes, there are certain limitations and restrictions, but economy is developing due to its internal rules, and the main driver there is profit, benefits, and value. So you can find all that in our region. Thank you very much. Dear friends, you see that our experts and practitioners, they have outlined this enormous potential and these great plans of growing transport infrastructure. And it is a prerequisite for international cooperation. And I am sure that this should not be something that can be affected by external conditions. And now I would like to end this day with a joke, which is well known in Russia among specialists in logistics and transportation. So it is in hell, and there's the king, a business person, and a specialist in logistics. And the Satan asks them, "Gentlemen, you all can make just one call, and the cost for that will be defined after you make this call." The king called his queen, and he asked her, "Okay, how are you? I'm saying farewell to you." And after that, Satan said $10,000. Okay, the king paid for that minute. He talked with his wife. Then the businessman called his family as well, and he said, "Okay, sons, you will inherit my business." And for him, it took 45 seconds. And he hung up, and Satan said 1 million rubles. Okay, and this business person said, "Okay, yeah," and he paid for it. Then the manager on logistics called a port, and he checked whether the cargo was fine, whether the customs clearing took not long, and it took him 5 hours to discuss all that. He finished that call, and Satan said 10 rubles. The king and the business person, they were angry. Why so? We were speaking only for 1 minute and paid so much. And this guy, he was speaking for 5 hours and paid just 10 rubles. And Satan said, "Yes, yeah, but he was calling from hell to hell. And roaming is not billed." So everything we describe not to become hell for specific managers and specialists. So in order to prevent it, we need to ensure international cooperation, and we need to identify constructive, effective, and efficient points of contact. I would like to thank you all. I would like to thank our speakers and all the audience. Thank you.